Hi, Rudy.
Hi, Alan. Okay, your name is Rudy Stadlberger. I'm 98 years old. I joined the club either 1948 or 1950. I'm not sure which one. And one of the best things I ever did in my life was to join a rowing club.
So, Rudy, tell us about your swimming, running, rowing, and handball playing.
Well, rowing I did the least because I mostly piloted a few swims, Golden Gate swim and Cove swims. But handball 3 times a week for the last 60 years, 70 years maybe. Swimming, I did the gate once. Can I tell you about the gate swim?
Yes.
The South End was in danger of being moved. The city that's property by the water. Their feeling was that you can play handball anywhere, but you can't swim everywhere. So they wanted to make a swimming club out of and it was a handball club at the time. It was 90% handball. So the handball commissioner the president of the club came to me and said, we need you to get some handball players to swim the gate. We want to show the city that we're a swimming club and not a handball club. So I got about 10 swimmers approximately, and talked them into swimming, and we did it. And even though we didn't have a very good time, every one of us made it. My time was 65 minutes. The fastest swimmer, I come in next to last, but the fastest swimmer made it in 24 minutes. So I wasn't really a very good swimmer.
But you complete.
I completed it. All of us did.
Oh,
All the handball players made it. I come in next to last, but I got across. And that was the only real swim that I did. Oh, I did one from the out harbor with the tide. Twice we swam from the out harbor to the club. Most of my time was spent on the handball court.
And back then, people don't wear wetsuit.
No. If you wore a wetsuit, you were a second-class citizen. So mostly, I played a lot of tournaments all over the Bay Area. I went to the Nationals, which happened to be in Memphis, Tennessee. They had just started a new division for people over 40. So I signed up for that.
So, Rudy, tell us about how you started handball before you joined the South End with the YMCA, you said?
I was at the YMCA. A friend of mine who I went to school with, his brother belonged to the rowing club. And he took me down, and he found out I was interested in handball. So he took me down to the rowing club and showed me how to play. I already had some idea about it, but he got me in to join.
How old were you when you first started playing handball? After high school, I
Let's
guess.
see, no, out of the Army. I was in the Army when I was 18. I got drafted in World War II.
Okay.
That'd be 18, 20. I guess I was about 26 years old. Well, 24, maybe 24 years old when I joined. But I've been playing a little handball maybe up to the year. I didn't play very much at the YMCA. I wasn't too happy down there, but so I played maybe a year, and then I found out I was taken to the rowing club, and I joined the rowing club right away.
A friend brought you in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I played at the Y. My other friend took me over. He didn't get me an application. The fireman that took me down there. He wasn't. No, I told you he wasn't a member. So anyway, when I got in, I played I think every tournament for the next 50 years I played in at the South End, plus playing other tournaments from other clubs.
You brought lots of trophies home.
Yeah. I had a,
What was the South End Rowing Club one of the best handball
yeah,
club back then,
was-
or even now? I guess.
it was the Olympic Club was #1,
Okay.
and we were always #2. And then there was others like the YMCA's and the Elks, and they were. Well, that's about it. So the big competition was between the Olympic Club and the South End, and they had free membership to good handball players, so they got the best handball players. But we were competitive with them. Maybe I should tell you about the first national tournament that I went to.
Yes, please.
Okay, they had started a new division, the 40, they call it the Masters, where you had to be 40 years old to play, 40 and over. So I didn't have any money, so I asked the club if they could sponsor me, and they didn't have any money either. But they did give me $150 to drive to Memphis. I could drive down there so I took my wife and 2 other members, and we drove to Memphis, Tennessee. And
From California.
Memphis, Tennessee.
No, from California.
From California, yeah,
Okay.
from San Francisco.
Yeah, okay.
And we stayed at motels and made it in about 4 days. And believe it or not, I won the tournament, the 40 division. Anybody over 40?
#1.
#1, yeah, in the country. And then I won, over the years, I think I got 13 national tournaments. Because I played in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. And my last tournament, I won the 70 doubles. And that was 20 years ago. Because I'm 98, maybe about 26 years ago. What do you want to know about them?
Yes, the time you spend with the other members who play handballs.
Oh, okay. Well, after the game, you'd always go next door and get a beer. So, Mike Alvarez was one of the people I played with. He was, I think he worked in accounting. He's an accountant, but we just played and socialized together and became good friends. And then I had another friend I went to school with. He was the brother of the person that brought me into the club. His name was Al Ujic. Just passed away a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
But
So,
we went to Mission High School together. And we were in Mission High School when Pearl Harbor happened. The Japanese bombed January, I think December 7th. And that was on a Sunday. The next day they got all of us, the whole school got into the auditorium in Mission High School, and we heard the President Roosevelt declare war on Japan. And,
that interrupt all your handball playing, I guess.
well, no, I was. The draft only took people 21 years and over,
Okay.
and I was only 18 at the time, still in high school.
Mm.
Well, when I got out of high school, I was just going on 19. They dropped the draft age to 18, so I was on the first train load out. So there wasn't, and right away I shipped out, wound up in Tampa, Florida, in the Air Force as a mechanic. Had to go to school first, and as a mechanic. And then when I got out, no handball doing at that time. Then I got out back to the rowing club, and then playing handball, and every 3 times a week. I never missed. So that's, and every tournament. I think I won tournaments in every club in California at one time or another.
So you're doing well in handball, and is there any rivalry like between South End and Dolphin besides Olympic club?
No, just the Olympic Club.
Okay.
The Dolphins, they didn't have many handball players.
Okay.
And in fact, when they would get a handball player in, they would move over to the south end because we had better competition. We didn't do it on purpose, but that's just the way it went. They couldn't find any competition, so they joined us.
Rudy, tell us about the Dolphin South End Runners Club.
Well, there was 3 people that started it. There was me and another South Ender named John Bortano. He was also my business partner. And Walter Stack, he was from Dolphins, and he was a runner. And we met and we decided let's start a running club as part of it called the Dolphin South End for members in both clubs. And we laid out a program of about 10 runs. One of them was from the South End to Nob Hill, Coit Tower, yeah, and back again. And one was from the Cliff House to Fleischecker's pool. There was a pool at that time, Fleischecker's. And another was the Twin Peaks run. We started Lower Market, Upper Market, and run to the top of Twin Peaks and back again. And that's about the only one all the ones I remember.
So
There's
that
about 10 of them.
So that running club, people run every week.
Yeah, every week.
Okay.
I think it was on every Sunday morning.
And it's still happening these days.
As far as I know, the club is still. I don't run anymore. The club is still in existence.
Okay.
And it grew to quite a few people, like maybe 200 people, because we didn't restrict it to just club members. Anyone could join. So even they had a little newspaper every week to come out with the results, and it was fun.
Okay. Did you ever try the Dipsy?
Yeah, I ran the Dipsy every race
Wow.
for 20 years.
For 20 years.
Now the Dipsy was age handicap. The older you got, the bigger head starts you got. But it happened that the people that were beating me when I started would go up with me every year and would beat me every year. I still couldn't get ahead. So, and then somebody started another one called the Double Dipsy,
Yes.
where I ran, you ran from Mill Valley to Stinson Beach and back again. Well, I'd done something very few people did. In three years in a row, I ran a double Dipsy with a blind runner. His name was Harry Cordelis. And because it was age handicap, but because he was blind, they gave us the maximum handicap. So we got a good head start. And we come in somewhere in about the middle. But he was a good athlete. He would pull me along on the level, but when we had to go up the hills and it's rough ground, he would have to grab my hips and let me go first. But it was fun. We did okay.
All right. Okay. Have you ever participated in the Dolphin Club, South End Rowing Club triathlon, the one that we have
Yes.
every year? Tell us about it.
Well, it was when I did it, it was 3 men. You had a swimmer who swam from Alcatraz in. Then you had a bicyclist
The escape you're talking about. Okay.
that rode the bike to Mill Valley.
Yes.
And then you had a double Dipsy runner. That was me. And we didn't do too good overall, but then
You complete.
we completed, but they had a trophy for the oldest team. So combining our ages, I don't know, we won by 50 years. We were the oldest team available. So, and then I lost the trophy somehow over the years, but they gave us each a trophy for winning the swim. I mean the triathlon.
Mm.
But I never did it, the whole thing alone. That was a little too much. I couldn't swim that far that good.
Rudy, tell us about the Southern Dolphin Triathlon, the annual triathlon competition between the two clubs. Have you participated in those?
Yeah, it included swimming, running,
And rowing.
rowing.
Yes.
So I participated in the running, and I can't remember results anymore, but we won most of the time. We won.
Did you have fun with those? Were you guys cheering?
Oh, yeah.
And
then because then after that we have a lunch and just socialize together.
Mm.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
we compete, but we always socialize together.
Yes, we were friends.
Mm.
And one year they would host, and the next year we would host. We were more of an athletic club. They were more social at that time.
Rudy, tell us about other swims you do and anything you do at the beach.
Well, one thing I can tell you, when I was talked into swimming for the club, for the Golden Gate swim, the Golden Gate Bridge swim. Okay, I had two friends that were also training with me, and after a while, I noticed they didn't want to swim with me anymore because I was too slow. So they said, we're just not going to train anymore. So I went out, Fleischhacker's pool. The pool was the largest outside pool in the United States. It was 1/4 of a mile long. So I would go out there and train. And one day, who's out there but these two people that didn't want to swim with me anymore? Well, they said they weren't going to swim. And they were out there at secret training. So I trained. The water was warmer out there because it was a heated pool, a little bit heated. It wasn't very efficient because it was 1/4 of a mile long.
Uh-huh.
So
Like salt water.
and it was salt water
Yeah.
too. But I come in. I told you I think I come in next to last in the Golden Gate swim. And
But Rudy, you always complete. That's important.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. How about body surfing? You mentioned earlier.
Yeah, they didn't. In those days, we didn't use surfboards. You just use your body, and what you would do, walk out as far as you can, and then when a wave would come in, as the wave was starting to break, you'd get in ahead of it and swim as fast as you can. The wave would catch you and push you in. No such thing as a surfboard.
And that was at Ocean Beach?
Ocean Beach, yeah.
Okay.
Club.
It was a men's club back then.
And
When
they
you
were
joined.
pretty strict about members. They had what they call the black ball system. They had a little box like a dice box, and they put, depending on how many people there, they put these black balls in, or white balls, and a couple black balls. And you would, they pass the box around, everybody would take a ball, and then they'd put them on the table. And if you had 2 black balls, you couldn't get in the club.
But this is by random, or is it actually voting?
Voting. This is
Okay.
vote at the members. You had to come to a members meeting. Yeah, that's right. It was a membership. The board of directors was meeting. It's a board of directors meeting, and they would pass the black box around, and if you had 2 black balls, you couldn't get in. It almost never happened.
Mm.
Back one time, there was a black person wanted to get in, and he was ideal he was a master sergeant in the Army. He was a war hero, and he got in, no problem.
Why did he want to join at the time? For swimming?
Handball. He wanted to
Okay,
play
handball. Yeah.
There was an air base in Marin at the time. I don't even know if it's still there. It had a handball court. He was playing handball there, and he wanted to come and join us. And so we said, in fact, I was chosen to tell him, hey, it's okay, you can join the South End Rowing Club if you like. He said, no, I was asking for a friend who was a white guy. So anyway, we weren't prejudiced at all. But let's see, I lost my track now.
Yeah, we're talking about the women were not at the club
women
yet
couldn't
back
get
then.
in.
Yeah.
Then the women sued to get in.
That was 1970s or around there.
Yeah, and they got a lawyer, and it looked like they had a good point because they were paying. The club was getting a tax break, and we weren't distributing it equally to the people who paid the taxes. So it looked like it was inevitable that they were going to win. So they had at a meeting, they were going to take a vote to see how the members of the board, I was on the board at the time, see how the board of directors felt about it. And we were debating about it, and the men, some of the guys said they didn't want a woman member because the guys would be fighting over the women. And it come to me, and I realized they don't care about being fair or not. They just don't want them in. So I said, well, the one thing is we need the money. We're broke. We haven't paid our bills on time ever since I've been eight years on the board. We've never paid our bills on time. We need the money. Well, the board, didn't matter what the board said. They were going to get in anyway because we were going to lose in court. So that's another thing I told them. We're going to lose anyway. Might as well be friends with them. And so the board said, okay, but it was inevitable. They were going to get in.
Well, were the women blocked at the door when they tried to go in, or how did it happen?
Well,
these days we need a key to go into the club, but back then you say the door was wide open.
Well, you could bring women in as a guest, but you couldn't bring them in like to a dinner. You couldn't have them.
Okay.
Even at the installation of officers, you couldn't bring your wife in.
Oh.
No women. The men's club. So that changed. The women won the suit, and regardless of what I said, they were going to get in. Everybody knew that.
But when they want to get in, or were they interested in coming in and participate in sports, or were they just okay?
They're all swimmers.
Okay.
And later on, a couple of women decided to try handball. A couple of women still playing today.
Okay.
I think we got about 4 women that play handball.
How about the Dolphin at the time when the South End didn't admit women to join? How was the Dolphin?
Well, they were the same as us. No women.
Okay.
But the women were suing both clubs.
Okay.
So they were, whether they liked it or not, they didn't have any women who wanted to join. But I think they did take a few in over the years. But the South End, they had about 10 women that was suing.
Back then, there's probably only the men's shower, the men's sauna, right? How did it manage to? Was there more constructions?
We had to build a room for them, and we had to make a sauna for them. I think that's a sauna that's still downstairs at the club.
The small one.
Yeah, that was theirs. Well, there was only 10 women maybe.
Okay.
And we had ours where it is now. And I think then they had to build a locker room for them. But it all happened in time. They weren't pushy about it. They lived with, they just accepted it's going to take a while.
Okay.
And we had no trouble with it. We even had it was about 5 years later, we had a woman president.
Oh, so back then, after about 5 years or so, there's a woman president.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first one?
No.
I can look it up, I guess. Yeah, we can look it up.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, that's great.
It might be more than 5, maybe 10. I don't know. It seemed like about 5 years to me because they became very active. They like to join in the cooking.
Okay.
We welcomed them.
Okay.
The quality of the food got a lot better.
Oh, that must be true.
Well, they had the installation of officers. What they would do, they take one of those 50-gallon pots and fill it with pasta, spaghetti, cook it. Then they would go to a restaurant on I can't remember the name of the restaurant that somebody knew, and they buy the sauce, spaghetti sauce, and pour it on there. And that was a installation of officers' dinner, year in, year out. And the women come, they changed that. They cooked at the club. They made a nice sit-down dinner for us.
Yeah, I saw some of those pictures at the club where there's quite lots of people when you had party back then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the same. They cooked the pasta in a big pot, maybe 50 gallons, and then I think the restaurant was Caesar's, name of the restaurant, I think on Bay Street. And they go out and just buy the sauce and just pour the sauce. No salad,
Spaghetti sauce.
The women changed that. They made a few hors d'oeuvres and some salad and a good dinner.
A bit more fancy. Rudy, tell us about St. Patrick's Day's party at the South End, and also how Irish community were back then and now.
Well, Ireland handball originated in Ireland, so a lot of handball players in those days were a lot of Irish people were handball players. Later on, the Latinos kind of took over. They became the best, and then people from New York were very good handball players. But we had the St. Patrick's Day luncheon when I joined. For years, every year, corned beef and cabbage, and they'd have probably somebody from City Hall would come down, a mayor or the board of supervisor, and there was a Supreme Court justice, or the chief of police would come every year. DeLay was his name, Charlie DeLay. He was the chief of police, and there was an attorney, his name was Earl Warren. He later became a Supreme Court justice of the Supreme Court, and I saw him there. He was a guest of the chief of police, because this was time Warren, he was in the Supreme Court. And this DeLay, this Charlie DeLay, he was chief of police. He invited him as his guest, and he was at the Supreme Court justice was at the South End Rowing Club, St. Patrick's Day.
Wow. Do they play handball?
DeLay played handball.
Did they handball?
Yeah, he was a handball player.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
He was old. He was retired at the time. But that's something that the Supreme, I think Warren was the head of the Supreme Court, Chief Justice, and he was at the South End. Well, the whole life has been interesting. It's one tournament after another, swimming. I did cycling. We had a...
Cycling?
Bicycling.
Okay. Oh, well, that's part of the escape maybe, but was there a specific cycling club within the South End?
No, we had a group that participated. It wasn't a club event, just a group of about 10 of us signed up for a 500-mile ride around the Bay Area.
Okay, wow.
And which 7-day bike around the Bay Area, 500 miles. We did about 75, 80 miles a day.
I haven't heard about this before. How long did it last? I mean, like,
We only did it once.
okay.
Nobody wanted to do it again. But like the first one was, we started here in San Francisco, and we went almost to San Jose, just on the first lap. And then we went to that, I don't remember all the legs, but we did about 80 miles a day. And we wound up back at in the marina in San Francisco. And that's all I remember about it. It's a long time ago. And we only did it once.
Okay. Rudy, tell us what you remember about the Olympic Club back then, when the privilege or the men's only club. Tell us about it. What you
Well,
remember?
not only that, but no blacks and no Jews. Now, I was just shown that I was going to be a handball player. I was going to be good. And so somebody said, well, we had a member that was a member of both clubs. He said, why don't you let me propose you for the Olympic Club? And I said, oh, I'd love to get in. He said, as an athletic member, they didn't have to pay. So I said, yeah, I'd love that. And so he says, well, you're not Jewish, are you? And I said, no, but I did have a Jewish grandmother. And he said, well, you can't tell him that. And I thought about that. And I said, well, I'm not going to volunteer the information, but if they ask me, I can't lie about it. And that's the last I heard about it.
So you never get in
Well, I did after I won 2 national tournaments.
for the Olympic Club.
They sent, I remember the handball commissioner come down in a taxi cab, because my shop was south of Market, pretty close, a dozen blocks away. A taxi cab coming in my neighborhood, nobody took a cab down there. The handball commissioner got up and said, we've got a spot for you as an athletic member if you wanted to join. And I said, I can't do that now. The Olympic Club, what they did, they gave me $150 to drive back to Memphis, Tennessee to play in a tournament. And I won it. And then the next year, I won it again. It was in Seattle, Washington. So, but I said, I can't join. Eventually, at the end of my career, when I got a hip, I couldn't play anymore, tournament. I joined then on my own, and they allowed Jewish people in then, but I wasn't going to lie about it, Just so I and then I found out even with the hip I could play again, but I never represented the Olympic Club. I'd always represent the South End. I was a member of both clubs for a while.
Okay.
And then I finally got so I couldn't play that much, so I dropped the Olympic Club and stayed at the South End.
Okay. Rudy, have you ever swum with Roper, Joe Flanghaven, and George Farnsworth and those guys? Frank Cotland? Have you ever swum with those guys?
No, they were too good for me. They were too fast. I was very slow. But one time I did swim when they were having this triathlon. George Farnsworth, he was older than me, but he was going to be the swimmer. And another guy, about 70 years old, was going to be the cyclist. Cyclists had to go over to Mill Valley. And I was going to be the double dipsy runner. That's the one we won. And they had a tournament, a trophy, 3 trophies that is, for the oldest group. And we won by over 50 years.
Wow. What a team.
I'm over in Mill Valley waiting for Farnsworth. Everybody else is in. And no George. And I said, well, he's slow. I'm not going to give up. Because if the swimmer doesn't make it in the whole thing, that's it. You're done. Finally, he came in, and I did the double dipsy, and we had a dinner after that at the Dolphin Club.
Yes.
And they gave the trophies out and announced how many years each team was. We were way ahead.
That was good.
And Joe Flayhaven, his locker was next to mine, But we never. He was a good swimmer.
Mm.
I couldn't stay with him. We'd
Yeah,
swim
he's-
in the same route, but he just go way ahead of me.
He's an amazing swimmer.
Yeah, he's a good swimmer.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, when I first met him,
George.
He-
Okay. George
he-
Farnsworth.
George Farnsworth, he had a bar. He ran a bar on in Daly City, right across the street from the Cow Palace. It was called the Players Club, I think. Yeah, the Players Club. And it was right on the Daly City boundary line. And in San Francisco, you couldn't dance in a bar. In Daly City, you could dance. So he knew where the line was, and you could dance. And part of the club, they would allow dancing. And one thing he was noted for, he was the owner bartender. He never bought a drink for anybody. He'd be there all night long. He never got a free drink. He was noted for that. But talk. He could always keep talking, no matter who it was. He could talk and talk and talk. And he had a habit. He wouldn't go in the sauna, but he used all the hot water. Stay in the shower for an hour. But he was a good entertainment.
Okay. Any crazy swim he did that you remember? And people were cheering or laughing or...
Well, they had to swim, Yacht Harbor swim, where you swam with the tide from Yacht Harbor to the
Yes.
club.
Yes.
And I was noted for being slow.
Okay.
So I had a guy was helping me, a good swimmer, was kind of coaching me. And he says, what you do when you get to Yacht Harbor, when it starts, swim straight out. And then let the tide take you. Swim as slow as you can and save your strength and just let the tide take you. Well, after about 20 minutes, I got cold from not exercising. And I was shaking all over. They had to pull me out. So I did it again next year, and I made it. But I just went out a little bit and swam normally, and I did it. But the worst advice I ever got in my life: swim as far out as you can, and then because I wouldn't have been able to get back in anyway.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did very little swimming.
Okay. Rudy, tell us about your diet, the healthy diet.
Well, I'm not a vegetarian, but I try to keep red meat to a minimum, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. Starting with breakfast, the first thing I have is a bowl of fruit, mixed fruit like strawberries, pineapple, watermelon, and anything else that's in season. And then I'll have egg white on whole wheat toast one day. Then maybe I'll have once or twice a week a real egg on whole wheat toast, and then a whole wheat pancake. And I vary it depending on what I feel like eating, but try to keep meat to a minimum, and sugar. Try to keep sugar to a very minimum. Let's see, I'm looking at mixed nuts. I try to have a handful of nuts every day, and try to fish. I try to fish whenever I can, and don't eat too much, and stay away from too much salt.
Okay.
Mainly in exercise. Get some kind of a workout every day, even if it's only walking for a half hour.
Okay, that sounds good. Stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you want to reach 98 like I did, stay a member. Do everything. Do a little bit of everything. You don't have to be the best. You can be like me, come in next to last, but just participate. All the events you can, and you'll get past my age then. That's all I got to say. Just don't stop participating.
Thank you, Rudy. Yo, any message for Southenders?
Okay, the water is cold. That's about all I can say.
Any advice for newbies, newcomers?
Okay, if you want to live as long as I, keep swimming.
All right. Woo!